Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his Bhakti Movement. Sri Chaitanya descended on this earth on February 27, 1486 to a learned family of Srihatta, now Sylhet in Bangladesh. He was the 10th child of Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi. He had 8 sisters and one brother elder to him, but all the 8 sisters died in childhood itself, whereas elder brother Vishweshwar renounced the material world at the age of 16. Prior to his birth, his grandmother had a vision that the Lord would be coming down to earth as Sachidevi's son, and that he would be born on the banks of river Ganga. To welcome the Lord as specified in the revelation, Jagannath Mishra and his family migrated to Navadvipa, a distance of some 600 kilometers crossing many mighty rivers, before the time of Sri Chaitanya's birth. His mother named him Nema after the neem tree under which he was born. His maternal grandfather prophetically named him Vishwambara, that is, the savior and sustainer of the universe. Giving early glimpses of his divinity, Nemai in childhood used to cry incessantly unless he heard the holy name of Hari. The house of Jagannath Mishra therefore always echoed with blissful Harinam Kirtan. Vishwambara was educated in Sanskrit grammar, literature, Navyanayai, that is, logic and systems of philosophies. His great proficiency and at times academic debating skills established his intellectual eminence. On completion of his education, he started a school in Navadvipa, and his fame spread far and wide both as a teacher and as a scholar. After a comparatively brief spell at the school, Vishwambara set out on a pilgrimage to Gaya to perform the Pindadan, that is, annual rites of making offerings to one's deceased father and forefathers. On visiting temples, sacred sites, and meeting learned people, the divine light within him got ignited. The religious awakening was intense and it transformed him completely. He was enveloped in an ecstasy of love towards the Lord, and the intensity of his emotion was visible to one and all. At Gaya, Nemai embraced Ishwar Puri, an ardent Vaishnava Savant of the Madhav sect, as a spiritual guide, Diksha Guru. When he was initiated with the Krishna mantra, Vishwambara wept and wailed that Krishna was his life and his beloved that disappeared after stealing his heart. This was the beginning of Sri Chaitanya's spiritual journey in the path of unconditional, unalloyed, and unbridled love for the Lord. This feeling persisted on return to Navadvipa, and Nemai, abandoning teaching, spent his time in devotional kirtan, singing in chorus to the accompaniment of drums and cymbals. He was so much in love with the Lord and so deeply immersed in Kirtan that he was completely oblivious of the caste, creed, or religion of his fellow participants. His preaching of the love of Krishna and the ideal of universal love and compassion appealed to the imagination of the general populace. In a society that was deeply divided along caste and religious lines, the flavor of equality and brotherhood offered by the Kirtan of Sri Chaitanya was instantly embraced by all. Soon the Kirtan became bigger and began to be organized as Nagar Street Sankirtan, processions carrying the devotional appeal of Krishna's love from house to house in the town. This was the origin of the Bhakti Movement. During such Kirtans, Chaitanya would frequently get transported to a trance-like state, something akin to Bhava Samadhi. In such states, Nemai's consciousness ceased to exist among the mundane even when his body functioned normally. His soul used to merge with Lord Krishna. With the passage of time, such occasions increased in frequency and they became a permanent feature of his religious life. And soon, Nemai desired to renounce everything and become a sannyasin. At the young age of 23, Nemai was formally initiated into the monastic order by the famous Bengali ascetic Keshava Bharati and assumed the name of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Much to the grief of his mother, he expressed a desire to go to Vrindavan and Mathura to preach his tenets, but he was only able to secure her consent for a move to Nilachal, the home of Lord Jagannath. Sri Chaitanya's forefathers originally hailed from Jaipur in Odisha, and this was probably the most compelling reason for her to make this suggestion. Also, she desired that he be nearby so visitors could go back and forth bringing her news of him regularly. Puri in Odisha thus became the fulcrum of the Bhakti cult from where it spread far and wide. Historians analyzing the move feel that neither the Islamic government nor the establishment of orthodox people in Navadvipa, whose pretensions he had already exposed by his scholarship through intellectual debates, would have tolerated the continuation or development of the egalitarian Bhakti movement of Sri Chaitanya, and speculate that his family members possibly apprehended even serious risk to his life. The stature that Kalinga commanded during that period in history may be established from the fact that Kalinga was the only Hindu independent kingdom in whole of eastern and northern India. Its king, Pratap Rudradev, was not only capable of unconquerable military might but patronized art, architecture, literature, and religion. Vaishnavism was the state religion of Kalinga, with the Lord Jagannath standing at the apex as Rashtradevata. Legends chronicle that as Chaitanya stepped into Puri and saw the tall spire of Jagannath temple, he was overwhelmed with joy and ran to the temple, imagining that Krishna was calling him. On reaching the temple, he jumped up on the platform and clasped the huge idol to his bosom before falling down before it in a swoon. According to Vrindavan Das, author of Chaitanya Bhagavat, who was beholding the scene, Vasudev Sarvabhauma took the unconscious Chaitanya to his house. He was the foremost logician of the time and the most erudite scholar of the monastic school of Shankaracharya. In appreciation of his great scholarship, he had been made the court pandit of Raja Pratap Rudradev. During Sri Chaitanya's stay at his house, the great servant expounded to Chaitanya the aphorisms of the Brahma Sutras for a week, on the lines of the commentaries of the impersonalized school of Shankara. When Sarvabhauma noticed Chaitanya's indifference, he inquired the reason thereof, whereupon Chaitanya explained those aphorisms strictly on the foundation of pure theism. Raved and attracted by the truth, beauty, and harmony of the expositions, Sarvabhauma bowed down his head before him and, converting, became Sri Chaitanya's first disciple in Nilachal. Chaitanya made Puri his home. From there, he traveled to South India and North India on several pilgrimages, but spent the last 18 years of his life at Puri in an unbroken spell. During his trip to South India, he conclusively broke away from the orthodox line of thinking of the Madhav school of Vaishnavism, mainly because of their strict emphasis on the observance of the Varnashrama Dharma, caste segregation. For Chaitanya, nothing, no religion, no caste, nor the regimentation of Varnashram could come between the love and devotion of a true devotee and the Lord. Oblivious to everybody and unaffected by the opinions of others, he evolved and practiced his own style of devotional worship that was built around Sankirtan, collective chanting of the Lord's name accompanied by dance to rhythmic music from mridangam and cymbals. During Kirtan, Sri Chaitanya's emotional fervor used to be so intense that he used to jump up to great height, and his followers had to be always alert to save him from injury as he fell down to earth. He was perpetually in a state of semi-trance. This unique form of unalloyed bhakti pouring out from the depths of the heart endeared one and all, the poor, the outcast, and the rich. This was pure love, not constrained and bound by logic or intelligence. The poor, not blessed with education, intelligence, or the advantages of birth, had found themselves out of the mainstream of religious activities. These outcasts were prohibited to take part in rituals because they were considered to be impure. Chaitanya's Kirtans obliterated these man-made barriers. King Pratap Rudradev, being a learned Vaishnavite, an ardent follower of Lord Jagannath, also embraced this bhakti practice wholeheartedly. He had already been deeply influenced by Vasudeva Sarvabhauma's conversion immediately on Sri Chaitanya's arrival at Puri. Royal patronage paved the way for the rich and the upper classes to embrace this form of participatory bhakti as well. Chaitanya's movement democratized religion, and God and religious practice was no longer the prerogative of the rich and the upper class. Sri Chaitanya made it a practice to lead a group of his ardent followers in sweeping and washing the Jagannath temple thoroughly, especially before Ratha Yatra. This may have led to the Jagannath temple being thrown open to the low caste Hindus as well. In those days of strict Varnashram regimentation, this was indeed a remarkable revolution. King Pratap Rudradev, following the tradition and practice of Chera Panhara, used to, of course, sweep the path of Lord Jagannath with his own hands using a gold broomstick and sprinkle sandal water on the ground on the day of Ratha Yatra, and Chaitanya's practice reinforced this tradition. One of the most profound, though disputed, effect of the spread of Sri Chaitanya's cult in Odisha was that Kalinga became militarily weak and docile. Historians argue from both sides of the divide. Some say that the vigorous and energetic Oriyas who thwarted Muslim rule for so long and built marvelous and huge temples became weak in spirit and energy. They say this because King Prataparudra is believed to have renounced war like Ashoka under the influence of Chaitanya's pacifist and devotional philosophy. Some of his prominent officers like Rai Ramananda, governor of the south at Rajamahendri, and Bhavananda Patnaik, governor of north at Midnapur, became devotees of Chaitanya and resigned from their posts, thereby making administration of the kingdom weak. However, according to other prominent historians, when Sri Chaitanya arrived at Puri, King Prataparudra was away in the south to arrange defences against a possible invasion by Krishnadev Raya of Vijayanagar. Then, on return from the south, the king had to chase the invader Hussein Shah, Sultan of Bengal, and compel him and his army to take shelter at the Manderia fort in Midnapur. The fort was under siege for a long period, which had to be lifted when General Govinda Vidyadhar betrayed the king. They say that though Prataparudra had great regard for Sri Chaitanya, there is no record to show that the king had made any grant to Sri Chaitanya or his devotees. This might prove lack of any overwhelming influence. Odisha's decline was thus due to many causes and even included interruption of her commercial operations with the East Indies by Muslim ascendancy over the seas. After religiously praying Lord Krishna till 1533, Sri Chaitanya suddenly disappeared. It is said that he had gone to Sri Jagannath temple for the darshan of Jagannath. Just then all the doors of the temple closed on its own. Emotional Sri Chaitanya embraced Sri Jagannath and there he merged. It is believed that this happened in June 1533. Harinam Mahamantra is the greatest gift of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the mankind. As he said, in this age of Kali, the name of Hari is the only way to salvation.